child, lost in the fog, and I'm frightened of meeting all you known unknown.
Hello and welcome to Poly Risk Reward. My name is Ned Stranger, and in 2024, my wife and I received the results of a DNA paternity test that showed that I'm not our daughter's biological father. Through these podcasts, I tell the story of our open marriage and this unexpected twist in forensic detail, with each episode focusing on a common question I get about open marriage, polyamory, and this unusual situation. Today's common question is, have I always been polyamorous? Or to put it another way, as a friend asked me in the streets recently, do I think that some people are inherently polyamorous and others aren't? Or is it something anyone could theoretically do and experience in their relationship? So looking at my previous relationships before Anya, I was always in monogamous ones, with one exception. When I was at school, my first ever girlfriend told me that it was okay if I wanted to hook up with other people. And to be honest, I wasn't really sure how to take this at the time, and I never acted on it. I think I was so infatuated with her, but also a little bit worried and confused why she was offering this. Like, part of me thought she might be testing me to see how I would react. But in essence, Anya was my first non-monogamous relationship of any form, and I realized that my previous monogamous relationships had all followed a bit of a pattern. So there was the honeymoon period at the beginning where everything was wonderful and you were getting to know each other and, falling in love. And as the sort of tensions and, the flaws all appeared, all the stuff you would expect that is totally normal and wonderful as well, I also realized that I was starting relatively early to be attracted to other people and desire other women. And at the time, I always worried that there was something wrong with me and that I was somehow incapable of loving one person, or maybe even just incapable of loving the correct way. And this was even reinforced by some of the comments I got from my girlfriends at the time. Things like, oh, you should show more effort, or you should show more evidence of desire or more romance. Things that they sort of suggested should come naturally and that you shouldn't have to force. And I always felt a little bit guilty about this and even a bit trapped in the relationship after a while. And I did just wonder if there was something wrong with me. And it was only when I met Anya and started talking to her about all of this stuff, and it was all very new to me, non-monogamy and polyamory, that I realized that I was probably always a non-monogamous person trapped in monogamous relationships. But the fact that I don't think this is either really uncommon or even particularly interesting makes me wonder whether there's something broader going on here, and that actually maybe a lot of people aren't naturally monogamous. And so I pondered this question, is monogamy really human nature, or is it not? Is it something that we've been conditioned to think? And there's actually a lot of evidence that suggests that humans are not monogamous by nature, from like science and anthropology and genetics and lots of different sources, actually. And there's a really amazing book called Sex at Dawn that some of you may already know, which I actually discovered a year ago, that really touches on all of these topics in a lot of detail. So I'd recommend reading it. And just a summary of some of the evidence. Looking at the bigger picture, only a tiny percentage of species on Earth are sexually monogamous. And if you look at mammals, it's something like 3 to 5%. And even birds, who are like 90% socially monogamous, like 30 to 70% of their offspring. So as many as potentially 7 in 10 of the offspring born to these so seeming monogamous birds are actually fathered by extra pair males, so other males, which implies very strongly that they are sexually non-monogamous. And our closest ancestors, the chimps and the bonobos, are famously polyamorous. The fact that we have, relative to our body size, rather large testicles, or balls, or testes, however you want to call them. I'm not going to lie, I wasn't expecting to be using the word testicles on a podcast, but there it is. The fact that we have very large ones implies some form of sperm competition, which also implies sexual non-monogamy, at least as we evolved as hunter-gatherers. Speaking of which, if you examine hunter-gatherer societies around the world today, there's a number of examples that suggest that our ancestors, as hunter-gatherers, had a much more fluid approach towards this sort of monogamous coupling or pair bonding. So there's the Bari in Venezuela, the Canela in Brazil, the Achi in Paraguay, and they think that a child can have multiple biological fathers if the mother has sex with multiple men while pregnant, thus identifying the fact that this can happen. And without sort of drowning in anthropology and studies, because that's really not my area of expertise, there's just lots of examples that really challenge this idea that humans are naturally monogamous. So the idea that I was somehow flawed or wrong in my relationships has really been turned on its head by all the stuff that I've read since. So where does this leave the bigger question? As I told my friend in the street, I fundamentally believe that anyone is capable of opening their relationship and of loving more than one person at once. We love children, we love family members, we love friends, and we don't say, well, I only love you, I can't love you as well. So I don't understand why introducing sex or romantic love should change that. Now, a lot of people are very happy with one partner, sexually and socially, and that's wonderful, and it's not something that everyone has to do, and it's not necessarily a solution to all relationship problems, but I do think that people who are interested in it should be willing to explore it, and jealousy and fear of losing somebody and all these other fear-based emotions should not be a reason not to try. That is my fundamental view, as is threaded through the rest of this story and these podcasts. For now, thank you very much for listening. My name's Ned Stranger. Please remember to share this with friends, leave a 5-star rating, and see you next time.